Okay, in this video, in this first part of the video, we're going to talk about measure words for verbs. Okay, so what does that mean? That means to talk about how many times something happened. So like, I kicked the ball 3 times, like that. In English, we just say 3 times, and that's about it. In Chinese, there are actually several different ways to say times, and it's kind of like measure words applying to nouns. Some certain ones of these measure words for verbs actually apply to certain kinds of actions. And so here we go, we'll jump in. Now, 次 is the most common, and if you're going to remember one of them, definitely remember this, because it's sort of like 个 as a measure word for nouns. It's sort of like the generic one. It's used most of the time, and it sort of has a basic meaning of times, and it doesn't really have any other information in it. So let me give you a couple of examples of it. 我打了2次电话. 我打了2次电话. So 电话means phone, or in this sense, calls. 我打了, 打 is the verb to make a phone call. It means to hit, but if you imagine hitting, it can kind of help you. Like, I'm dialing. 我打了2次. So 2 times. Here we're using 两 instead of are because it's kind of like a measure word. 我打了2次电话. Notice the 2次 goes before the object. So 我打了, it's not 我打了电话2次. It's 我打了2次电话. So it goes the measure word goes between the verb and its object. The measure word for the verb. So this means I made 2 phone calls, or I called 2 times. Does that make sense? Here we have, it's also 2 times. 我考了2次就通过了. This is fun because we're talking about measure words for verbs, but we also have the use of 就, which we learned not too long ago. 我考了 means I tested. I took the test. 我考了2次, 2 times. 我考了2次, and then what happened? 就通过了, 就 passed 了. And so this means that I only had to take it twice, and I passed it. So that's what the sentence as a whole means. It's expressing kind of like, wow, that was quick. I only had to take it twice. 我考了2次就通过了. I'll point out that these 2 la's have different functions. This one is complete. This is a completion la, saying that the testing has been completed. This la is paired with 就 to express the idea that didn't take as much effort as I thought. 我考了2次就通过了. Okay, so that's 次. It's the most generic. It can apply to more or less any verb. And if you don't know, it's like if you don't know the right one, say 次, you're going to be right the vast majority of the time. But there are a number of other ones that are still relatively common that have a little bit more information in them. So here we have 变, and this applies to certain verbs, and it stresses the whole process from start to finish of something. Let me give you a couple of examples. This is a very common phrase. This is probably where you're going to see 变 the most. 再说一遍. 再说一遍. This is a request to say it again. Please say it again. Well, it doesn't say please. It says say again. 在 here is not the 在where something is currently happening, but rather it means, it's the same pronunciation, but it means again in the future. So say it again. It hasn't happened yet. It's in the future. Say it again. 再说一遍. One more time. But here it's kind of like, it's like saying, say what you just said, say all of it again, because it's stressing the process from beginning to end. It's not saying, it's not saying just, speak something again. It's saying what you just said, all of that from start to finish, say it again. 再说一遍. And then here we have another example, 这个电影, or 这个电影, this movie. So this is a topic sentence. So I put the object in the beginning of the sentence. 这个电影, that's the topic. We're talking about this movie. Now we're going to talk about it. 我看了10遍. What does that mean? I saw it. I watched it 10 times. 10遍. And this 10遍 means I watched it from start to finish. And now we can say 次 with 看, like 看电影, 看, but it doesn't mean from start to finish. It could mean like, oh, I started to watch it, and then I stopped, and then another day I watched another piece of it. So 我看了2次, I watched it twice, but it doesn't mean from start to finish. If I say 我看了10遍, it means I have watched that whole movie 10 times. Does it make sense? So 遍 kind of captures, it means time, but it means from start to finish, it captures the whole process. Here we have a couple more in this little board. Let's see if we can make sure there's no glare there. Okay, so we have a couple others that are even a little bit less common. This one's pretty common, tang. It means a trip. And I actually put this in an example, and I think in the previous video, it also means time, but it refers to a trip. So it's like going somewhere one time. It's kind of like taking one trip there. So it means going there and coming back. Does that make sense? I took a trip to some place. It doesn't have to be a far away place. It could be the supermarket, but it refers to the coming and going. So one time. 我们去了一趟上海. We went 去了一趟 one time Shanghai. We took one trip to Shanghai. We went to Shanghai one time, but it means, going and coming. And then we have another one that's probably even it's the least common of all of the ones I've shared. 下. And it refers to actions that are really quick, like hitting, knocking. It's kind of like a quick motion. So hitting could be this, could be knocking, waving one's arm. Things like that are kind of like a flashing motion. And so here's an example of that. This is from All Set Learning. 你没听见吗? That means, did you not hear? 听见 means to hear. Did you not hear? 我敲了好几下. There's the 下. 我敲了 means I knocked. 好几, G, remember, means several. So 好几 means like a bigger number, like a many. It's kind of like saying many, like many several times. So I knocked a bunch of times. 你没听, you didn't hear? I knocked a bunch of times. Now, 下, I said, is rare, but I think we've already learned that 一下 after a verb makes it sound light and casual. Remember, we can say 看看 to say like, oh, have a look. Or we can say 看一下. And I actually didn't even think of this until like just today, that 一下 is this. It's just, instead of it referring only to actions that have like that striking motion or that quick motion, it's broadened to like one time, like 一下, but it means like it means quick, or for not a very long time, or for a bit. And so it's very interesting to me that 一下, which I used to just see as like a phrase like 看一下, just like 看看, but now I see, oh, it's a broadened concept that's been extrapolated from this measure word, meaning like a striking motion or something. So, but it means one time. So 一下, of course, when you say 看一下, it doesn't necessarily mean just look once exactly. It's a broadened concept, meaning kind of like quick, casual kind of feeling. So anyway, that's how we talk about how to say doing an action a certain number of times. We have 次, kind of the generic one. We have 变, talking about the process. We have 汤, talking about a trip. And we have 下, talking about a number of actions that are kind of like striking or waving motions. In this video, we're going to talk about very common words that show up in not every sentence, but in many, many sentences. They are this, that, and which. In Chinese, it's 这, na, and na. Now you might be thinking, Eldon, are you serious? Are you telling me that the difference between that and which is a tone? And I'm saying, yes. I'm sorry, I didn't create this language. I'm just the messenger. So 这, na, and na. These specifying words. So what do you use this and that for? You use to specify which thing you're talking about, right? It's this thing, it's that thing, or if it comes in a question, it's which thing. These specifying words go in the place of a number. So they go before a measure word, And so it's, if I want to say this thing, the word for thing is 东西, it's 这个东西. If I want to say this picture, it's 这张照片, because 张 is the measure word for picture, so it's 这张照片. Does that make sense? So it's the specifying word plus measure word, and then the noun if the noun is spoken. All right, let me give you a couple examples. We have 这张, there we go, this picture. 这张照片很好看. So this picture, 这张照片很好看 is very, man, how do you say 很好看when you're talking about a picture? It's very good, is very great. This is a great picture? This is a good, you can't say good looking picture, right? 这张照片, this is a great picture. It's a very good picture. This picture is very good. 这张照片很好看. All right, so here we have 我, we're going to use 那 now, right here. 我很喜欢那个人. 我很喜欢, I really like 那个人. 很 is very, but it can go before certain kinds of psychological verbs like and love and hate and stuff like that. And so in English you wouldn't say I very like, but in Chinese you can. 我很喜欢那个人, that person, 那个人. And then here we have 哪 as a question. 你要看哪三个电影? Now here, a couple things. 哪 means which. So this is, you want, which 3 movies would you like to watch, or do you want to watch? 你要看哪三个电影? So the which 3个电影. Do you see that? 哪三个电影? Which 3 movies? And so I made this example on purpose to show that 哪 can be attached to numbers. And it can also, these others can be attached to numbers. If I want to say these 3 movies, I'd say 这三个电影. Does that make sense? If I want to say those 5 people, I would say 那5个人. So these can actually be attached to numbers to say this number of something, that number of something, or which number of something. So that's important to point out. I also want to make a comment about the pronunciation of these words. I wrote 这, 那, and 那, and they're correct, and they're the most formal. They're the most correct, maybe. That's not even fair to say it that way, but it's the most formal. It's the way you'll see it when you look in a dictionary first. But each of them can have an alternate pronunciation. 这 can be pronounced zhèi, as in zhei. Na can be pronounced nei, as in nei. And na can be pronounced nei, as in nei. So they're very common. I would say in general, Northerners prefer the zhèi, nei, nei. I would love to see zhèi, nei, nei. You know what I'm saying? The Northerners prefer that kind of pronunciation, whereas Southerners tend to stick with the more formal 这, 那, na. But they're both fine. They're interchangeable. In speech, they can both work. The difference is that when 这 and 那 mean this and that in a more general sense, when it doesn't have a measure word, like I want to say, this is an interesting topic. You see what I did there? It's not like, in Chinese I can say 这, interesting topic, where I don't need the measure word. In that case, almost all people say 这 and not zhèi when it's by itself. Does that make sense? I know there's some people who do, but like the vast majority of people just say 这. Similarly, if I want to say that is an interesting question, most people just say na. And so that's a little bit of a distinction there. But when you have a measure word with it, you can say 这 or zhèi, na or nei, or na and nei. Okay, that is everything I want to say about that, except that I wanted to mention that, actually no, I do have a couple other comments. One is that in many of the examples I've given up until this point, I've already put these into there. And so I'm just teaching it as a formal point now, but you've already seen it many times before. And I also wanted to say that some people will put the number when we're talking about one or this thing. So it's one thing, not two. I'm not saying these 2 things. I'm saying this thing. some people will put the number 1 right here in the middle of it. So they'll say 这一张照片很好看. And really, I think what's happening here is that the 这张 it's like saying this one, but we're omitting the one, where some people leave it in there. And so this sounds, I don't know if it sounds more formal or more whatever. I wouldn't say it's more common. I'd say it's more common just to say 这张, but you will hear people say 这一张 or 那一张 or 哪一张. And yeah, so I wanted to point that out as well. I hope this video was helpful for you. Keep up the good work. It's not easy learning Chinese, but you are doing it. Woo!